There is an invisible force that transcends time, logic, and even the distance between two hearts. Sometimes lives drift apart, choices are made in opposite directions, and yet something continues to vibrate in the unconscious, like a calling that never falls silent. At some point along the journey, no matter how improbable it may seem, two paths cross again, as if the entire universe had conspired for that reunion. It's not coincidence, it's destiny in motion. An archetypal dance in which souls, separated by circumstances, are guided by something greater than themselves, the collective unconscious. When two souls are destined to meet again, no force can prevent it. Only time knows when, but the reunion is inevitable. If you believe that what is true always finds its way back, write in the comments, "What is mine will always find its way to me." In the thought of Carl Jung, reunions that defy time and logic are not whims of chance. They are symbolic manifestations of the process of individuation, the path through which the human being seeks to integrate the unconscious parts of the psyche in the pursuit of wholeness. When we speak of souls destined to meet again, we are essentially referring to an inner calling that surpasses reason, a deep attraction born from the collective unconscious, where all human experiences are intertwined. The idea that two souls are connected resonates with Jung's concept of anima and animus, the feminine and masculine aspects present within each individual. These inner figures are projected onto others, often evoking a sense of immediate familiarity, as if that soul had been recognized long ago. Jung explains that we project parts of ourselves onto others, especially those we fall in love with or feel a deep connection to, and it is through these relationships that we are invited to self-transformation. There is a hidden dimension operating behind human choices, encounters, and reunions, a symbolic network Jung called the collective unconscious. It is within this archetypal field that souls recognize one another, even when their eyes have never met before. The inexplicable attraction that emerges without logic or reason is not a whim of the heart, but a symbolic expression of the psyche's inner movement toward wholeness. When we speak of souls destined to reunite, we are not talking about idealized romanticism, but about a deep psychic language that transcends linear time. The collective unconscious is a reservoir of universal images, symbols, and experiences that belong not just to the individual, but to humanity as a whole. When two people meet and feel an instant connection, it's possible they are accessing similar archetypes, resonating within both psyches. A symbolic activation awakens something ancient, as if a story once known were being reenacted. These are encounters that make us feel inhabited by something beyond ourselves, something greater, yet profoundly our own. This invisible attraction often arises when least expected. It can occur after years of separation, after lives that have gone in opposite directions, or even between strangers who share the same inner dream. Jung would say this is not coincidence but synchronicity, an alignment between external events and inner states of the psyche. In other words, when two souls are ready to meet, the external world merely mirrors that readiness. The universe reshapes itself to fulfill what the soul has already decided in the unseen. But why then do these encounters so often seem impossible or take so long to happen? The answer may lie in the cycles of the soul. Before a true reunion can occur, certain parts of the psyche must be worked through and integrated. Every experience, each separation, pain, or lesson prepares the ground for a transformative reunion. It's not just about returning to the other, but about finding yourself in the presence of the other. The image of the soulmate, though often romanticized, can be understood within Jungian psychology as a metaphor for the process of individuation. The search for the other is, in truth, the search for inner completeness. When we meet someone who seems to complete us, we are faced with a projection of our own aspects that long to be seen, accepted, and integrated. It is through this mutual recognition that the connection grows stronger and acquires archetypal meaning. This process is rarely gentle. Many times the reunion between two souls comes with intense emotions, conflicts, and resistance. That's because the other awakens within us parts that were asleep, wounded, or denied. The force of destiny that brings souls together does not aim for comfort. It seeks deep growth. Pain, strangeness, and even distance are part of this greater movement of the psyche that invites us to transformation. When Jung studied his patients' dreams, he often found images of reunions, symbols of union, or mysterious figures representing the significant other. These dreams were not predictions of the future, but revelations of the inner state of the soul longing for integration. In many cases, after long periods of inner work, his patients experienced real-life reunions that seemed foretold by those dream symbols. Therefore, the destiny that unites two souls is not an external magical force, but a symbolic expression of each individual's inner work. The collective unconscious merely responds to the call of a soul that wishes to meet not only another soul, but its own deepest truth. Thus, the reunion becomes inevitable once both are ready to live the truth that dwells within them. That is how the invisible operates, silently, through dreams, symbols, and coincidences. What seems improbable becomes possible when the unconscious recognizes in another the missing piece of the soul's great puzzle. The invisible attraction, then, is not chance. It is destiny, acting in its most symbolic and authentic form. The shadow, another fundamental concept, also plays its part in this process. When we meet someone with whom we feel an inexplicable bond, that connection often brings to light repressed, unresolved, or forgotten aspects of ourselves. The other acts as a mirror, revealing essential parts needed for our growth. Thus, reunions are not merely romantic or spiritual, they are psychological and symbolic. They mirror the psyche's movement toward healing, balance, and wholeness. Destiny, therefore, can be understood as the symbolic force of the unconscious guiding us back to parts of ourselves, represented by someone who, in some way, never truly left. Within Jung's analytical psychology, anima and animus are two fundamental forces that dwell in every human being's unconscious. The anima represents the feminine aspect within a man's psyche, while the animus represents the masculine aspect within a woman's. These elements are not tied to gender, but to complementary principles that, once integrated, promote inner wholeness. The reunion of two souls, so deeply felt as a powerful calling, is often the symbolic reflection of this journey toward integration. Throughout life, each individual unconsciously projects their anima or animus onto external figures, especially in romantic relationships. This is why we feel magnetically drawn to certain people. They activate archetypal images that resonate with unconscious content still awaiting integration. The other person, in this case, is not merely someone we love, but a living mirror of a hidden part of ourselves longing to emerge. When two souls meet again with that almost mythical intensity, it is because their psyches recognize each other on a level deeper than the conscious mind can comprehend. However, projection is only the first stage of the encounter. True transformation begins when we realize that what we see in the other is, in fact, a symbolic representation of something we need to develop within ourselves. The reunion of two souls is not just a love story or a matter of fate. It is a call to psychological maturity. It pushes us to integrate the qualities of our inner opposite, balancing reason and intuition, strength and sensitivity, action and receptivity. Jung observed that in dreams and myths, anima and animus often appear as mediating figures between the ego and the self, that is, between the conscious personality and the psyche's central organizing principle. Thus, meeting someone who touches us profoundly can feel like a moment of inner illumination when we sense we are closer to who we truly are. It is as though the soul, upon recognizing the other, also recognizes itself. This mirroring awakens a feeling of familiarity, an instant connection, as if time had been suspended and everything suddenly made sense. Yet the path toward integration is demanding. Projections not supported by consciousness eventually collapse, revealing not only the ideals we placed on the other, but also our frustrations, wounds, and unconscious expectations. Many reunions fail at this point because they are sustained by idealization rather than awareness. For the connection to become a true path of individuation, we must withdraw our projections and see the other as they truly are, an imperfect being, yet profoundly symbolic in their presence. The true reunion happens when both individuals have walked far enough on their inner journey to recognize in each other not salvation, but reflection. This recognition opens space for a more mature kind of love, one that is not based on need, but on wholeness. Anima and animus cease to be projected as external ideals and become integrated inner qualities. The other is no longer an idol, but a companion on the journey. In many symbolic stories, the hero only finds his real strength after reuniting with his counterpart. That strength doesn't come from the other. It is awakened by the other. The reunion between two souls works the same way. It is a catalyst for individuation, not a substitute for it. In this sense, Jung saw love as a spiritual opportunity, a process that forces us to grow, to face what is hidden, and to integrate what has been forgotten. Therefore, the reunion between two souls, from a Jungian perspective, enacts an inner process, the mirroring of the opposing principles within each being. When anima meets animus, when the feminine recognizes the masculine, when the unconscious is embraced by consciousness, a kind of love is born that is not merely relational but deeply transformative. And it is this love, born from integration rather than lack, that can withstand time, destiny, and even life's inevitable separations. No true reunion occurs without the soul first passing through the depths of its own shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow represents all aspects of the personality that have been denied, rejected, or repressed throughout life. These unconscious contents, unaccepted by the conscious self, continue to act from the depths, projecting themselves onto the outer world and shaping our most intimate relationships. When two souls reunite, especially after long separation or a difficult path, this reunion is not just a celebration of destiny, but a test of inner maturity. A soul that has not faced its shadow is doomed to repeat unconscious patterns, sabotaging the possibility of an authentic bond. The reunion will not be real if it serves as escape or compensation. Only when there is courage to face the inner world, the pain, the unhealed wounds, the denied impulses, can destiny operate freely. The shadow is everything we avoid confronting: jealousy, fear, resentment, pride, anger, vulnerability. It also includes forgotten talents, suppressed desires, and unlived potentials. In other words, it holds both pain and possibility. The meeting with another soul inevitably activates these contents, for the other serves as a living mirror. What we admire or reject in them often reflects ourselves. Without conscious confrontation with the shadow, we project onto the other both our ideals and our demons, creating relationships filled with fantasy and suffering. Destiny, in this sense, is not merely a force that unites, but one that demands preparation. Jung believed the unconscious has a compensatory function. It seeks to balance what the conscious mind lacks. If one lives too rationally, the unconscious brings emotional intensity. If one represses aggression, life presents situations that provoke it. The reunion between two souls can be one of these compensatory experiences. The other arrives as a catalyst, not to reinforce comfort, but to awaken what has been forgotten or denied. That's why true reunion often comes after a period of separation that forces each person to turn inward. It is the times of silence, solitude, and self-confrontation that create the conditions for a meaningful return. To meet again without inner transformation is to repeat. To meet again after facing the shadow is to be reborn. The love that survives the dark night of the soul is no longer the same. It becomes deeper, more conscious, and above all, more human. The shadow is also responsible for the tests destiny imposes. Sometimes the soul feels the call of reunion, but still carries resentment, wounded pride, childish expectations, or self-destructive beliefs. The unconscious will not allow reunion while these contents dominate the psychic field. That's because a true meeting requires surrender, vulnerability, and genuine presence. When two souls are not ready to see each other as they truly are, with both light and shadow, time and the universe conspire to keep them apart, not as punishment, but as protection. Working with the shadow, then, is an act of love. Love for oneself, for the other, and for truth itself. Facing the shadow is not self-condemnation, it is liberation. It is acknowledging that within each of us lie parts needing acceptance, not repression. Once this work is done, the reunion between two souls ceases to be an idealized projection and becomes a space of mutual healing. Both become conscious mirrors for one another, capable of seeing and embracing not only what is beautiful, but also what is still becoming. In the end, destiny does not give us what we want. It gives us what we are ready for. If the soul still avoids its own shadow, it will meet only reflections that sustain its illusion. But when there is courage to cross the inner abyss, destiny responds with presence, and the reunion becomes possible, not as a happy ending, but as a new beginning where two souls, whole in their imperfection, choose to see, to listen, and to grow together. For Jung, individuation is the process through which a human being becomes who they truly are. It is a deep, symbolic, and continuous path of integrating inner opposites, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, masculine and feminine. It is a journey back to the center of the soul, where the ego, once identified with social masks, begins to align with the self, the organizing center of the psyche. Within this journey, the reunion with another soul is no longer seen as a romantic coincidence, but as a concrete expression of synchronicity, a call from the unconscious that arises at the right time, with the right purpose, for souls that are ready. Synchronicity is a key concept in Jungian psychology. It represents a meaningful coincidence between external events and inner states, not linked by cause and effect, but by symbolic connection. It occurs when something happens in the outer world so precisely aligned with what is unfolding within that it cannot be ignored. When two souls who have undergone their own individuation processes meet again, the event is not chance, it is synchronistic. It is the unconscious manifesting in visible form the maturity achieved in the invisible. Jung saw synchronicity as a sign that the soul is in harmony with the self. These are moments when life mirrors what is happening within. Premonitory dreams, unexpected encounters, phrases that touch us at the exact right moment, or the sudden reappearance of someone from the past just when the psyche is ready to face them. All of these are expressions of the unconscious operating with symbolic intelligence. It is not magic, but a deep alignment between the inner and the outer worlds. Individuation prepares the ground for this kind of meeting. When a soul begins to walk toward its inner truth, leaving behind illusions, unhealed wounds, and false identities, it emits a new symbolic frequency. This psychic vibration attracts experiences coherent with its new structure. People who were once distant, emotionally or spiritually, begin to reappear, not because time changed, but because the soul did. And destiny responds to what the soul sustains with awareness. The reunion then ceases to be a desperate attempt at fulfillment and becomes a mutual recognition of evolution. When two souls meet after walking their individual paths of individuation, a new level of presence emerges. There is no longer haste, demand, or idealization. There is space for the other to be, space for the relationship to unfold authentically, space for silence, for listening, and for shared growth. At this level, reunion becomes a calling, not an egoic desire, but a symbolic response to psychic maturity. Often this reunion is preceded by signs, vivid dreams, recurring memories, seemingly random synchronicities linking the other's name to daily moments. These are messages from the unconscious indicating that something is approaching, that a part of the soul is about to be touched once more. For those attuned, these signs are not mere curiosities, they are invitations to listen within. The soul always knows before the ego, and when the ego aligns with the soul, it recognizes these invitations with gratitude and openness. The journey of individuation also teaches us not to cling to reunion as a reward. Destiny may bring the other back, not to relive the past, but to consolidate the present. It may be a brief encounter, symbolic, or the beginning of a new shared path. What matters most is recognizing that reunion is always about what is unfolding inside, not merely what happens outside. If the other has returned, it is because something within you has also returned. A forgotten part, a memory, a value, a truth. The reunion born from individuation and expressed through synchronicity carries transformative power. It is no longer the childish pursuit of completion through another, but the mature celebration of two whole beings recognizing each other. And this kind of love, born from awareness, sustained by freedom and aligned with the self, has the power to transcend time and endure life's trials. When that happens, destiny is no longer something that governs us from without, but a living expression of the soul that has finally found its way home. There are encounters that change everything, not because of promises or certainty, but through the silent intensity of a presence that resonates in the soul, as if it had always been there. When two souls meet again after time, distance, or pain, that moment carries more than emotion. It carries meaning. Jung teaches us that such reunions are not coincidences, but symbolic expressions of a profound psychic process. Individuation, shadow integration, the union of anima and animus, and the force of synchronicity all point to a destiny that does not impose, but reveals. What once seemed improbable becomes inevitable when there is inner readiness. The reunion is not an ending, but a new beginning, a space where two souls, whole in their incompleteness, walk side by side as mirrors and partners in transformation. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue exploring the mysteries of the soul and the symbols that guide our journey. And don't leave without watching the video now appearing on your screen. It's the perfect continuation of this reflection. Your soul knows the way. Just listen.